Okay, this is a continuation from the outside thing. What's going on is we ask people to send in some questions that they would like us to answer, and the first question we answered without actually looking at the email
Yeah.
uh, was the do's and don'ts of offline dating. And that's basically trust your instinct, go the extra mile to be precautious as far as, uh, you know, take a picture of a person's license plate or their driver's license or both, which is what I used to do. And I always let somebody know where I was going and who I was going with. Um, the other thing is don't give out too much information as far as your name, meaning your full name, your address, where you work, your phone number, kids' names, that sort of thing. Okay. And that was just...
Can I reiterate on that?
Sure, go ahead.
But if you do, or they do give out a full name because they want to be as trustful as they can, then use it. Google it and do a background check
Spend
on their
money.
name. And there's sites out there that will actually tell you who they are. Intellus is one of them. Findingpeople.com. These are things just precautionary to make sure that who you're seeing is who they say they are, because you can do a criminal background check, you can do marriage certificates, death certificates.
And we both actually did the same thing on each other.
Hey, I mean, you gotta be cautious.
I just had to know who he was, and I did this with everybody. I mean, there is a fee for it, but there's no price that's too much for your
own
safety.
yes.
So, yeah. So I spent the $14.99 plus tax to find out who he was, and he did the same for me. And you know, just it's okay to be cheap sometimes, but not with your safety. Don't be cheap, okay? And don't be too cautious. And what else do you have to say?
Sometimes you have to be a sleuth. I mean, like she said, go the extra mile. Be that investigator, because this is the same person that possibly you may be introducing to your children down the road. You want to know first, is he a pedophile or is she a pedophile?
And you can always look their name up on watchdog.com, or you know, you can go to the Sex Offenders Registry, SOR for short, and you can type in that person's first and last name and the state that they live in, or you can search all states for that name. And most of the time they have the pictures up, so, you know, use it.
So, you know, you're not looking out only for your own safety, you're looking out for the safety of your children and
If
your
you
family.
have them.
Yes.
Right.
So be cautious and just be a sleuth and do your work.
Okay. Starshine9985, this was her message to us. She says, first off, I want to say great job on the video. I think it helps for people such as myself who seek advice from others who have more experience to hear you talk about what it is that makes Jeff the man for you and what your experiences were like before you met him. I agree that you should look into making more videos together, not just explaining what makes you guys work so well, but allowing Jeff to explain from a man's point of view what he may think a good woman is and what women should maybe look for in a man. So, let's stop there. So, Jeff, she wants you to explain from your point of view what you think a good woman is and what women should look for in a man.
Other than your mother? Yeah, don't compare your mother to women, because it's not right. But if you for guys, it's the same for women. We all have certain ideas, goals, and beliefs that we're looking for from another individual. What we're looking for is, one, a friendship. With that friendship, we want to go ahead and have it become stronger to the point that friend now becomes your best friend.
And usually how long does that take for a guy? Or most men that you know, like, do you find that most men are reluctant to admit when they're in love, or they don't know what it is?
It varies, because what I'm saying by that is everyone's gone through a rodeo at one time. And what I mean by a rodeo, I mean going through the dating scene, having relationships. Every time you come out of a relationship, you grow stronger. At the same time, you're also scarred. So every person and every man and every woman is different in regards to the aspect of how soon they believe that they are ready to open up intimately to another person in regards to their secrets, their skeletons, and what makes them tick to the point that that they feel comfortable talking to another person. So there is no actual set time frame. It's just the person who you're with has to make you feel comfortable to talk about anything without being judgmental, or by being to the point that, well, you've been around with a lot of guys, so you must be pretty easy. Don't go by that aspect. You have to go by the aspect of who the person you're talking with, how do you feel about them, do you feel comfortable with them?
And you have to be comfortable with their past too.
True. You have to accept
Well,
it,
not
yes.
comfortable, but you have to be at a point where you're accepting of their past, because everybody has one. Like they said in Still Magnolias, if you can reach puberty, you can achieve a past. So be willing to accept that. And if you can't, then you need to move on. Because there's nothing like having somebody throw your past in your face, whether it be multiple wives or husbands, whether it be children, whether it be multiple.
Life experiences, yes.
You get what I'm saying?
Other issues, I mean, men have the perception of certain aspects of women. It's called what it is, an apple for an apple, okay? Some men are boob men, some men are ass men, some men are leg men, some men are face men. Means they are looking at particular parts of women that actually make them attractive to them. Each man's different, same as each woman is different of what they look for in another person. So you just kind of accept it, and you have to be observant of what's going on in the conversations. Now, for what men are looking for women,
What do you mean observant in the conversation?
okay, let's say a man is talking to a woman, but his eyes keep lowering down to the chest instead of having eye contact.
Okay.
That's being observant.
So watching where his eyes go.
Correct. And also, you're looking for little cues like twiddling of fingers, twiddling of toes, twiddling of C. You know, just are they comfortable or are they uncomfortable? But back to the original question. What is it that men look for in women? Well, that's a loaded question. It really is. But there's no one true answer for it either. Every person has to have an idea of what they're looking for. There's no such thing as the perfect Barbie doll, and there's no such thing as the perfect Ken.
Well, okay, well, for the sake of conversation, in general, what do men look for, and vice versa? What should women be looking for a safe, secure, and stable relationship?
Honesty, integrity, looks,
Unless you are the
trustworthy.
type of person where looks don't matter.
You know, I mean, there's really 5 essentials.
If you can see yourself waking up every morning to this person every day, that's a good sign.
But there's actually 5 essentials to a real good relationship. Remember what they are? One
Quality
is
time.
quality time. Words of admiration.
Physical touch.
Physical touch. Gifts. And what's the 5th one?
I'm not sure. Can't remember off top. Anyway, you can look up this book called The 5 Love Languages, and ours are a combination of physical touch and quality time. We both have the same.
Even though they may be changed from 1 to 2 and 2 to 1, they're still number 2 top picks on our list.
Yeah, so go pick up the book, but also um, I'm going to say this, and I don't know how many of you out there are religious or theistic or anything like that, but a firm spiritual foundation, or one that's in likeness with whoever you're meeting or dating, would help to create a better cohesiveness than two people, like having an atheist with, a Baptist. It just won't bode well in the long run for two individuals unless, they by some chance just find some way to make it work out. So you'll want to have a good, strong spiritual connection, whether both of you are atheists or both of you are theists. If you're both theists, then you'll want to probably have the same religion or somewhere along the same lines, like a Catholic and Lutheran or
But you don't want to have like a Catholic and then a Seventh-day Adventist, because it's just
right.
there's no cohesion there.
Right. So, yeah. So just make sure that you guys have some things in common, as well as some things not in common. Because I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea. This is just me personally. I don't think it's a good idea to have somebody who doesn't bring anything extra into the relationship. You don't have anything to teach him, and he doesn't have anything to teach you, because you both agree on everything. That's not any fun.
And you don't want a yes man.
Exactly. You don't want a yes man, because you'll just run all over him, and then over time, or her, and then you'll lose respect for that person. And you
have nothing to talk about, because it gets to the point that whatever decision is being talked about, or saying, what is your thoughts about this? Oh, whatever you want, that's fine. Without actually having any kind of input. I mean, it seems like you're having a one-sided conversation.
And if you got somebody who likes that type of individual,
it's your choice.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if you're the type of person who needs somebody to take control, then to have a controlling individual, I guess, would be a good thing, because then that means you don't have to be responsible or accountable for anything. No, I'm saying though, because some people are like that. They like for somebody else to make all the decisions so that they don't have to be responsible for anything. They're not accountable, and it makes their life easier. Some people are like that, and I'm not knocking that. But find somebody who is compatible to what your needs and wants are. Okay, let's move on. The next one is how...
Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to say.
Okay.
And this is kind of maybe touching a little bit off base here, but when it comes down to interracial relationships, first of all, whomever you are looking at, a man to a woman to a man, is exactly what you're looking at. You're not looking at color, you're not looking at creed, you're not looking at religion, you are looking at the individual. He's either a man or a woman.
But no, because some people do have that preference. They do prefer one color over another.
Well, I'm saying if you are interracial, such as for you, I don't look at you as a black woman. I accept you as a black woman, yes, but I accept you as a woman first.
Okay.
And, value their opinions. I mean, if they have something to say, don't discount it, but to the point that you have genuine interest in what they have to say. And, it's just be thoughtful and understand where everyone's comes from. I mean, I love Erica very much. And, at first it was hard for people to accept her, and vice versa, with people accepting me with her.
No, my family accepted you right away.
But there were members I had that had a little bit of confliction there, but
there were reasons behind that,
yes,
though. It wasn't just,
just
straight
her.
out. Yeah. No, it wasn't just straight out racism. There was some history that happened, particularly to Jeff. And then again for this other individual, but you know, it so happens that sometimes it is going to take some time for people to get used to you, and that's okay. You know, long as they're not being openly hostile, don't alienate yourself from the family or from friends who may not agree at first, because, you know, being who you are should be enough to win them over. And so that's basically what happened on my part. And I took it a step further because, can I just say it?
Go ahead.
Okay, it was Jeff's mom. Okay, she had had a bad experience, and with Jeff's past experience, because his ex-wife was actually a black woman, and it was a very ugly scene for Jeff for about 5 years, and he really tried to hold that relationship together, but it didn't work out. And because of the way that the relationship was during it and the way that it ended, it left a sour taste in, you know, Jeff's family's mouth. So when I came along, it was more so, you know,
Stereotype.
yeah, you're going to try this again, man. You already had a bad experience, but everybody has bad experiences, whether or not that the individual is the same race or a different race. So, but the point is to find somebody, regardless to race, who is compatible with you. And it so happened that over time, now his mom loves me, you know, and I love her. And we get along just fine now. And I don't know why my voice is so shaky, but, you know, it just turned out for the better. And things are so much more comfortable between Jeff's family and me. And, you know, because his brother also had an issue with it as well. And I don't know who else, but these two individuals in his family were the ones that voiced it. And it was okay with me. And no, I didn't get upset about it. And I kind of expected it. So it was okay for me, and it was a challenge, and I met the challenge, you know, and it turned out pretty well.
Yeah, turned out real well. Okay, now we go to your next question.
Okay, on to the next question. Okay, the next question is, how do your, this is by Boston Girl 5560. How well do your kids and husband get along? Ooh, we're going to have to two-part this one.
It's
It's a
getting
lot.
better.
It's
Yes.
a lot better than what it was initially, because my kids had me to themselves for about 5 or 6 years at the time. They had me to themselves, and no, I'm gonna say 5 years. They had me to themselves for about 5 years when Jeff came along, and then also on top of that, Jeff has kids of his own, and so when he came into a house where, and his kids are older than mine, so it was kind of like he was reverting back. Um, and it was kind of like he was reverting back to the age that his children used to be. And so he had a certain set of criteria, expectations that he expected, but the thing about it is that it was difficult to place those expectations from, you know, what he was used to with his kids
Different
to
lifestyles.
different lifestyles. And that's one of the things that you will have to deal with once you get into a serious relationship and children are introduced. So for a long time, I was really being put in the middle, deciding between the man I love, or at least I felt this way, deciding between the man I love and the children that I birthed. You know, these are people that I've been with since the day they were born, and, you know, these are the people who ultimately have my heart. I mean, you have my heart too, but,
I understand.
you know, children come first. They're the innocent ones that need to be protected, provided for, that sort of thing. However, it takes a lot of communication. You have to appeal to your children's sensibilities because they are young, so sometimes you have to deal with them on their level. It helps to have a lot of family time together, because then there is no choice but for people to bond. But you also have to have an understanding between you two or me and Jeff had to have an understanding between us to stand by what we say we're going to do. And a lot of times I didn't always do that, so it created confusion. So there's a lot that has happened in the last 4 years, but things are getting a lot better. The children do love him. I do know that because I've asked. And I know that Jeff loves my kids, and he's told them as much. And there's a lot of time to take note of the different demographics, I guess, of their relationship from stepfather to stepchild, a father of his own children to parents who still have their father that's involved. From my previous marriage, he's very much involved with them. There's a lot of things that go on that can actually be a plus if you know how to use them. But you got to put your heads together, and you always stick together, or else you risk being torn apart.
The one thing to remember is that I am not their biological father. I do not want to pretend to be their biological father, but I am a father in their life as a stepfather. They already have a father. I'm not trying to replace him. I'm just giving them a different avenue that now they have a different outreach for. Instead of having one father or dad in the household, now they have two with two different ideas. Communication levels, understanding, just sitting down and talking to the kids one-on-one of daily events, what's going on, about school,
It's okay. It's all right.
sports, personal problems, just having that genuine interest in them to see what's going on and how their daily lives go.
Now, sometimes there will be rejection from kids as far as, he'll, like sometimes Jeff will try to, or there was a point where Jeff would try to reach out and it would be rejected. Especially on my son's part, because he has loyalties to his biological father, my ex-husband. And so I think that had a lot to do with it too. And but now I think we've kind of turned that corner now.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better because, we'll come up and give each other hugs. I ain't gonna give him a kiss though, but he's getting into that middle teen era right now, and
He's 13. He'll be 14 in a couple months.
and so he's starting coming to that identification of who he is now, and not quite into manhood, but he's kind of hovered in the middle there. And so he's trying to figure out who his identity is. And you just have to sit back and just say, I accept you for who you are, but there are also sometimes you get into ideas that, man, what'd you do that for? And you got to just sit down.
On whose part?
If he has problems or issues with either at home or at school, and you say, man, what were you thinking about when you did that? And you're just kind of wondering. But they're teenagers, and that's the thing about it. They don't think.
They think with the back of their brain.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, I'm just going to say it because teenagers can be quite a handful, and both my children are teenagers. And my daughter was a little bit more easier to deal with in this aspect than my son is. And her thing was she really does look out for me, though. She just really wants me to be happy. My son is more like myself. He's more selfish, like, you're mine, and, I don't want somebody coming in on my turf, and that sort of thing. And it was cute at first, but after a while, it's like, okay, we really need to deal with this, because this is becoming an issue, and not to be... I don't want to be upset with him, and I wasn't upset with him, but it was just a realization that if we don't come to some sort of understanding... No, Monty, no. Okay, that's enough. Stop. Monty, no. Stop. If we don't come to some sort of understanding, that eventually this will turn into an ugly situation. So I had to begin to deal with my son and get to the bottom of why he was, behaving the way he was. And it wasn't to the point of, anything was getting physical, but it was to the point where the phrase, "you're not my father," was being thrown around a little too often for my liking. So, yes, I had to deal with that, and sometimes as the biological parent, you will have to deal with that, because if you don't, your spouse, significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend will get resentful. And I don't know if you did or not, because I think you handled it real well.
What's that?
As far as, how Elisha behaved and
Mm-hmm.
not becoming resentful, that sort of thing.
No, because I did understand that, because I ran the same problems, but I didn't find out till afterwards with my kids, with at the time my ex-wife, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that they had major issues with her, but no one ever communicated to me until after the fact, and then I found out all the horror stories. I thought, wow. And it says, why didn't someone tell me this up front in the very beginning? Because there's no lines of open communication, that's why.
So, like I said, past relationships help you to learn. And I think because I love communication, I love to sit and talk. And a lot of times these things come out and they help you to learn, okay, maybe I don't do that, maybe I do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have somebody who wants that same communication, and when they find that opportunity, it's like, oh my gosh, wow, I've never had this before. We can communicate, we can talk about stuff without being rejected, and that's what made it possible for us to make this family more
Coherent.
cohesive.
Yeah, yeah.
Not coherent, cohesive.
Yes. But, being open and honest about your feelings and events that happen within the house. And it's not tattletaling, but it's being informative. And the kids look at it as being tattletaling. I don't. I just want to make sure that she's aware, Erica's aware, if there's an incident that happens that, one, I wasn't happy with it, or it was out of taste. And so, I just let her know.
Okay, we got cut off from the last one, so we'll make this one kind of quick. You look good.
Thank you.
Did you brush your teeth?
No.
You should probably go brush your teeth. And put some shoes on.
But to the original question, to paraphrase it all, at first it was hard. It was very hard. But, that thing about any relationship, when you have different parents being involved with another significant other that's not biological, is you're going to run into difficult situations. But it's the idea that you learn from them, and you learn to cope with them sometimes, and just be honest with them about your feelings, your thoughts. And sometimes you might be considered an ogre or whatever, but it's a way for them to express themselves also, because you don't want them to shut down on you.
Right.
So you keep the lines of communication open, and now it's to the point that, Elisha and I are, will say, hey man, or love you man, and
They're buddies.
start doing the fist bumps, and it just,
They're buddies now.
and
But it was a long time coming, but it is so nice to see that payoff.
it was almost to the point that there was a fight for dominancy in regards to who is the alpha male.
Yeah. So I think that he now understands that his place here is secure. Uh, it's just an opening of your heart to somebody else.
So, it was hard at first, but as you work at it and become honest with them and work with them and do special things with them, you start to open that relationship to the point that it's an open door policy, that you can come ask me anything you want to discuss something, you have something on your mind. You talk to them without actually, being judgmental or being degrading, that you say you have a valid point or what's on your mind. So just always talk to them and keep the doors of communication open.
Yep. And that is that. And so I'm going to try and upload this today. See if I can do some quick editing. If not, then I'll just throw it on there and you guys can kind of, you know, look at it when you get a chance and kind of put it together yourself, because I think we did pretty good. All right? Fist bump. All right, y'all. Deuces.